All right. Well, Ricky. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Um, I thought we might start. There's tons to cover, but I recently met you out in Vienna, the European Championships. You were about to race with the missus. How did that go? Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah. We met in the warm-up area, didn't we? Just
Yeah.
before I was about to go out and had a quick chat. But yeah, no, the first lap went really well. The ski went really well, and then as we were running around the second lap, the second run even, we was on the third lap of the second run, and Hannah's knee popped, and I heard it, she screamed out, kind of thing, and was like limping. But it was her first one as well, bless her. So she'd been having these knee injuries throughout the training, coming up to it, you know. So she was determined. She was like, "I want to finish. I want to finish." And she was basically in tears, trying to limp around the area. And I said, "Right, we'll walk it then. We'll walk every run, and we'll just do the stations, and we'll finish in whatever time, just so you can finish." And then that became a bit too much. So occasions I had her on my back, and we were running round laps, and my legs were running out quite quickly with her on my back. And then she'd have a little walk again, and we'd go on the back. Then we went in for the sled push. She got to the sled push and barely could move it at all because she was in so much pain. So I did the sled push. We then went back out again, had another little stumble around and a little carry here and there, coming for the sled pull. And she managed to help me out a little bit on the sled pull, which now we've come away from it is phenomenal, because at the end of that, like, she was just in absolute agony and in tears and said, like, I can't do it. So I ended up having to carry her on my back through the wall balls, and then over the finish line quite early. But then our time lit up on the screen as 36 minutes, so I was claiming it for a little bit as a world record. But yeah, then your man Faisal was like, "Right, are you going to get back out and finish it then? I'll look after her," kind of thing. And I was like, "Can I?" And he was like, "Yeah, yeah, just go back out, go back out." So I managed to hand Anna over to him and some friends that were there. Old Wardy, who got second place in the 50 to 59 category with old Paul Richardson. And he looked after for me, and then I went back out and yeah, finished it on my own, which is a different bit of a mindset when you think you're going to be sharing the nations, and then suddenly you're not. And I had to get my head back in the game for the solos, you know. So I ended up, yeah, going back out there, finishing it up. But yeah, so by the sounds of it, we're waiting on fracture clinic. But yeah, by the sounds of it, she's ruptured her ACL. That's what the doctor thinks in any case. So she was an absolute trooper trying to carry on.
Oh wow,
Bless
yeah.
her, but obviously had to pull away, and a bit of recovery coming up from
Oh,
there. But yeah, we were stuck in the hotel because it was a Saturday as well. We were stuck in the hotel for the next few days until I could hire a wheelchair on the Monday to get her in and around Vienna, because we was out there till Tuesday, so we flew back on Tuesday, you know. So, but we had one day out and about in Vienna, me pushing her around and getting to see the sights. So it all ended well, but now, yeah, focus on her recovery really.
yeah. Hopefully, it's not put her off as well. If that's her first
I
HYROX.
don't, I don't know, mate. I don't know. I think she'll be back. She's one of these that is like, if she sets her mind at something, she'll come back. It just might take a little bit of a while
All
to
right,
get her
good.
back on, back on the horse, so to say.
How are your hips after carrying her for something? Because I know AJ's done
AJ
that
did
before.
it, didn't
Yeah,
he?
yeah.
Yeah,
I think his hips were playing up for a long time afterwards.
yeah. My lower back, I tend to struggle with my lower right side of my back because of my leg. You know, because I end up doing this little shimmy like this once I get tired. Uh, so I always struggle a little bit with my lower back. So I had a little bit of a twinge, but I think AJ ended up carrying his partner a lot further than I ended up carrying Hannah. So yeah, the only issue I had was on the lunges later on when I was on my own. And normally that's quite a strong station for me, and my legs were gone
We're
at that
done.
stage, obviously because of the carry and so on. But
Yeah.
yeah, they weren't too bad, and I'm recovering well, and I'm back in training now for Glasgow. So
Okay.
yeah, no, all good.
All right. Good. All right. So let's rewind and go back a bit. So tell us a bit about your background. I mean, obviously, I know you were in the military.
Yeah.
What were you doing before the military? Did you have a sporting background before that?
So no, I've been football mad all my life. It's been football, football, football since I was like the age of 5, really. And I had a few scouts watch me when I was a little bit younger, but I wasn't the ideal of young people, so to say. I was a bit of a terror at school, and I was a bit of a terror on the football pitch, which let me down in the end. And I think my attitude, I had a few say at half time to my granddad on one game in particular that three scouts were interested, and then my attitude took over in the second half, and I became a bit mouthy towards the ref and mouthy to other players and so on, and ended up then just going, he needs to grow up a little bit. So I've been playing football throughout, literally up until finding HYROX just over a year ago. It's been football, 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 really. Yeah,
Okay.
but not other to a level other than playing in the army and that kind of thing. Playing for the infantry and playing for the army under 21s very early on in my career, but only for a few games and that kind of thing. But yeah, football was my sport, really.
Okay. Okay. And then you joined the military at what, like 18, 16, 18?
16, yeah, because I was a little bit of a terror at school. By the time I come to do my exams, they were like, right, what are you actually going to do? And I suddenly just stepped back and thought, wow, what am I going to do? It's time to go and earn a living. Like, and a mate of mine was joining the army. He loved the army, had been to cadets. I'd never had any interest in the army whatsoever. And he was getting days off school. So I was like, oh, I'm just going to go and pretend to join the army for days off school, like, and ended up going up there, signing up, and yeah, about 6 months later, I was leaving. So I left school in, let's say, the July, and by October, I was in Perborough, just down from the road from where I live now, and I was in there as a 16-year-old, joining the army, ready for my training. So yeah, that's where it all started. 16, left home and on a train down south, and absolutely petrified. But yeah, no, that's where it all began.
Did you enjoy it, your time in the army?
I absolutely loved it.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't, like, it's not a life for everybody, but for me, it was what made me or put me on the road towards who I am now and what kind of person I am now. So, like I say, I joined the army a little bit of a know it all, a little bit of a show off, a little bit of a mouthpiece, and yeah, within, let's say, about 24 hours, 48 hours, that had stopped. And I was being taught how to, just get on with life and try and quieten down a little bit. So yeah, that just carried on with me. But I absolutely loved my whole army career, to be
Okay.
fair.
All right. So let's talk about, was it Afghanistan when you lost your leg? Can you talk about, that day and then what happened?
Yeah, of course. I'd gone out there early, so earlier than all of our lads in the September, due to take over from the other lads. So I'd spend 3 weeks or whatever with the other regiment that was already there, take over, know the ground a little bit, and then when our lads came in, I could then lead that and take them through it and lead the patrols and so on. So yeah, I was out there for about 3 months, and then it was on December the 11th, 2010. We'd gone out to do an op early hours in the morning to try and set up an OP, an observational post that I was going to go in with all of my lads. And on that morning, I'd been promoted to sergeant because the lad who was sergeant already had gone back. He was basically going for he was going off somewhere else to go and do something else. So I got promoted that morning to take over a platoon. So I've gone from the front man to the person at the back now that's looking after the ammunition, looking after the casualties, all this kind of stuff. So my job had changed, and I was sat at the back getting a little bit bored, and they were up and down this alleyway, basically sorting things out. I got a little bored, so I got on the radio and I was like, right, boss, I'm going to come down. I'm going to come and have a look. And he was like, no, you're not. You're at the back now. Stay there. And I was like, okay. 5 minutes later, boss, I'm coming up. And so on. And did that a few times. And eventually I was like, I don't care. I'm coming up. I need to get eyes on. I want to find out what's what. I want to see what I've got, and then I can plan. I'll go back to the back then and plan it out. So eventually, he was like, okay. And I walked down there, climbed over this wall into this alleyway that they'd been walking up and down for 45 minutes. 5 lads had. I jumped down the other side, took 1 step backwards, and bang, I'd stood on an IED with my left leg, and all that went through my head then was I was lying on the floor and I was like, right, you're in charge, get up, like you've got to go and get it. I didn't realise straight away it was me until I went to get up, and then felt obviously intense pain in my foot. I was incredibly lucky though, because it had only partly detonated.
Right.
So I didn't have the explosion, I had the impact. So I had the foot. So it was basically, somebody had said if I would have jumped off a 30-40 foot building onto my ankle, just land on one ankle straight legged, the impact that would go through there, I basically had come through my legs. So it just shattered my ankle, shattered all the bones. I think there was 27 bones or something like that in the foot that were broken, fractured, dislocated. And yeah, just smashed my my foot to pieces, really. But not one bit of blood, which is phenomenal for standing on an IED, you know. So I was flown out of there quite quickly, back to Camp Bastion. I spent a day and a half there and flown back to Birmingham. And then on the 14th, they basically said to me that 3 doctors came up to me in the afternoon and said, we've had a look at your foot. Your ankle is smashed to pieces. We can try and put it back together. It will be a very, very lengthy, painful process if you were to try and keep your foot, and you might elect to have it amputated later on down the road, or we can have it in tomorrow morning and we'll amputate the foot. And then suddenly it hit me how serious it was then, because somebody had mentioned in Camp Bastion, like, expect the worst. And in my head, I was like, okay, I won't walk for 6 months to a year or something. I've got that recovery. And it was only at that stage that I went, wow, I'm potentially going to lose my leg. But they gave me overnight to think about it. I basically cried all night until they returned the following morning. But I knew deep down that I'm a bit of a wimp when it comes to pain. And I was just like, I can't face having a year's pain, 2 years pain, and then amputating in the end. And I was like, okay, right, let's go for it then. If what you're saying and all 3 of you are saying I'm going to be more beneficial, I'm going to be in a better place if I have it amputated, then that's what needs to happen, really. So the decision was made there and then, and I went down at 10 o'clock that morning and had it amputated. And then, yeah, 7 days later, I was home and out of hospital and back home just in time for Christmas. I was, which I'd been trying to get home on leave for Christmas because I got children and that. And they wouldn't let me because I was a sergeant today. It was everybody else jumps in front of you in the queue. So I got a lot of grief for eventually being able to get home for Christmas, albeit missing the bottom part of my left leg, you know. But yeah, I was home. And then spent the next few months at home, really, before going off to rehab, which was, yeah, quite a dark place for a bit, to be fair. Before heading off to Headley Court in the February, where the reality hit me that, in the grand scheme of things, I was an incredible lucky boy, and I had my whole life ahead of me still. I might not be able to play football the way I used to play football. I might not be able to do this, and this. But actually, when you see a lad that's got 2 legs missing above knee and an arm missing, dragging himself across the gym floor and then pulling rope machines and then doing dumbbell pressing and all kinds of stuff with just the one limb that he had left, it was quite clear quite early on for me that actually I wasn't in as bad as a place as I probably thought for the 2 months before. You know, when I'm sitting at home thinking everything's done, everything's over, I'm never going to be able to do anything that I want to do ever again. But yeah,
that point where like they were like, do you want to have that amputated or, you know, work on it or whatever? That feels like a very relatively short period of time that you had to make that decision in. Really, I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah, and I think what they were leading me into making that decision. They knew what was best for me. but for my long-term mental health potentially, is I made that choice. I wasn't asleep or put in a coma and woke up missing legs,
Yeah.
which a lot of people are, you know.
Yeah.
So they were so he basically came in and went, right, this is, you're going to be in pain for a year or two, and you're probably going to have it amputated. If you choose to have it amputated, you're already booked in for 10 o'clock tomorrow morning. So it was very much, and as I lay there that night, and obviously, like I said, I cried quite a bit, and I knew really what needed to happen, because they were pushing me to that way. But then it was still my decision. You know, I had a choice not to take it at that time. But because I made that choice, obviously it's clear in my head. I know for a fact what they were telling me to do was, you really, really, really need to have your leg amputated, but we want you to make that choice. But yeah, no, I'm so glad I did. When I was at Headley Court afterwards, there was a lad who had the same decision and kept it, and he'd been in there a year and a half when I got there. And he saw the progress I made in a very short period of time, and elected to have his amputated from that moment on, really. So yeah, no, I'm certain I made the right decision, albeit guided by the three doctors that were standing around me telling me I probably should have it done, you know.
So those, like you said, like it was quite a dark 2 months after that. Was there, and then you sort of said like you saw like people maybe in the worst way. Was there a specific moment where it got you out of that dark place? Was it like just seeing that guy? And
it was across the board, really. Headley Court was, for me, was massive, more than the rehabilitation stuff.
What exactly is Headley Court? That's like a
so Headley Court is a place down in near Epsom, down south, which is basically an army rehabilitation centre. It's shut down now, unfortunately, and last I heard, they'd moved it up to the Midlands somewhere to do the same kind of stuff, but it's not on the scale as it was at the time, obviously, because although you hear of the 300 and odd deaths that happen in Afghanistan, you don't hear about the thousands upon thousands upon thousands of people that are missing limbs and going through rehab and so on. So it was quite a busy place at the time, but it was just an incredibly humbling kind of environment where you're just around so many other people that are in a worse situation than you are. And like I say, those 2 months I was sat at home, where in my norm, trying to avoid people coming and seeing me, staying in, didn't want to go out, didn't want people to see my leg. And then I'd get there, and literally, as I was walking down the corridor, all I did was pop my head through the door, and I saw this triple amp basically crawling across the gym floor, beasting himself. And that was the initial moment for me where I went, I ain't too bad here. And then as time went on, I ended up running 2 months later, albeit with a weighted kind of running machine. So they take up a percentage of your weight in like an air machine, and then you're running. But it was literally 2 months from me getting there to actually being back on a running machine. But I think that was incredibly helpful, that you have so many other people around you that are in such a worse situation than I was. You know, that massively helped with my mental health and dragging me out of that and going, right, I can do this. And then you're seeing lads that are coming back from 2 years of being going through it and are out jogging and are doing these different bits and pieces and knocking a football about in the gym. And I'm going, okay, it can happen, you know, it's not all over. And there are things that are going to be difficult, but we can get back to some sort of norm eventually.
were you given any help on the mental health side as well?
Yeah, so the whole thing was there, really, and I think because I snapped out of it very quickly, I didn't take it up from the army. Initially, when I first got back from Afghanistan, they were basically saying, yeah, it's PTSD, it's this, it's that, you know, you've been through a traumatic thing. And I'm going, listen, it's not, you know, and I was having nightmares every single day when I first got back. But my nightmares were about my lads that I'd left out there being kidnapped, being taken, being killed, you know, and the day they landed, my nightmares stopped. But what I did do eventually for myself was I found a counsellor that initially I really, really did not get on with. And I came out there going, why are you making me more frustrated? But it was actually taking into account everything. And eventually, like I swear by her now. And ever, if I'm ever in a place where I am down or in a bit of a dark situation, that she's one of the first that I would absolutely reach out to for that support. But for me. I had about 5 different people, and they didn't work, and this didn't work. But then eventually finding the one that worked for me, and I think that's potentially what it's about for everybody else. Is that you're not always going to get on with the first person that you're there for, and actually giving it a bit of time, like I had to with. Basically, I'd paid for 6 sessions, so I was like, right, I'm getting my money's worth, And it was the third or fourth session where I suddenly went, "Wow, you are incredible," and it really started helping me. The first 2 times, like I say, I left there probably more upset. But again, now I understand that's part of the process, and actually getting to the core of the problem rather than just trying to shape the top bit.
Yeah. So with your leg, what can you talk briefly about, like what the rehab looks like? You wear a prosthetic. Was that fairly immediately that you did that, and then it's just learning to use it? Is it?
Yeah, so it's basically because I've got my knee as well. I'm again quite lucky in that sense as well. Is all I'm missing is that ankle movement,
Right.
so which is very limited. Other than driving, really, is probably the one that's the biggest pain. And I drive an automatic now, so it's absolutely fine. But yeah, it's getting legs shaped to you, and because obviously it's quite early on, you're quite swole. It's still quite painful, so it's getting legs and trying to learn how to walk again. And I I had quite a funny experience when I was first when I first got properly comfortable walking. Is being a little lad, like I say, a cheeky little lad from Birmingham. I had this little bit of a bowl naturally in any case, and I was always had this little bit of a swagger, and they were like, right, you're not walking properly, and I'm like, this feels exactly the same as I used to be, but they've taught me how to walk properly now, so I don't walk with the little swagger anymore, but yeah, no, that, and then physio, uh, just getting out and about activities, all kinds. It was a 3 week intense kind of package that I had at the most incredible place with the best equipment, and then 3 weeks at home, and then we'd just keep doing that back and forth. So it gave me that time to go out and test it on my own and so on. So yeah, it was the whole package. The physio, the occupational therapists that would fit things in my house, come and take me to walk up hills to test that, so the whole package was just incredible. And I can't grumble one bit about what I got from the army to aid my recovery.
Okay. So like we've spoken a bit, and like you've talked about, like we can get a bit more into HYROX, but you said like HYROX basically sort of like pulled you out of a hole. It's been like it's been huge for you. So what happens in the subsequent years after that, like the rehab? Like, did you continue to struggle mentally? Were the issues that came up in those years?
So yeah, so I now work in a school with young people that are struggling, whether that be behaviour, which is come all the way around. And when I tell my mum stories, she laughs and says there's revenge because of what I put her through. And then their own mental health and pastoral support. So I don't teach. I just do the behaviour support and the pastoral support in secondary schools, and I've done that since pretty much coming out of the army. So I've kind of gone into that, and I didn't really struggle massively over the years. It was one of these things where I just learned to get on with it, and the more I got about, the more I understood that I could do more and more and more, and the more I wanted to try and do more. And then it was about just over a year and a half ago, I had a relationship breakdown, which put me in probably the deepest hole I've ever been in, really, and where I was starting to really question what am I here for, really, and that kind of stuff. And I'd had a difficult 4 or 5 years when it comes to like suicide. So my the first time I'd come back, I heard of suicide was when I was about 5. My uncle had committed suicide, and then all my life I'd basically had in my head, for some reason, I don't know why, for some reason I always had, maybe that's the way I'm going to go because I'm not going to be strong enough. I'm not going to be this. I'm not going to be that. And I've always had that niggling away in my head over time. And then over a 4-year period, up until the last summer, actually, I had another uncle, my brother, and 2 lads from the army all commit suicide in a 4-year period. And then adding in this relationship breakdown as well. I hit rock bottom, and like I say, the lowest I've been. And I'll be honest, I was sat in a car park with enough tablets to do it myself, and a little robin landed on my bonnet, which I always say is my little brother, that tries and guides me and that kind of stuff. And that picked me up there, and I was like, right, I need to find something. I need to put my time into something else, because I've always put my time into my family and my relationships and that kind of stuff, and I've never really focused on me. So it was an opportunity then to obviously take that time and go, right, what do I actually want to do now? And then I went and watched my first HYROX in Birmingham, not the one just gone, the one before, October before. And suddenly I walked out of there, and Tyler Saunders came chasing after me in his wheelchair. All I heard was these wheels rattling about coming down the cobbles outside the NEC, going, "Oi, oi, what are you doing? Come here, come here." And I was like, "Who is this bloke?" Like, and I'd literally about a week before started following him on Instagram, and I'd been in and watched him. Just he had been competing in the doubles at Birmingham there, and he came chasing me down and was basically asking me a load of questions. Have you just competed and all that kind of stuff? And I was like, no, I've come to watch. I'm just heading home now, kind of thing. And just had this little chat, and seeing him, and like it's just incredibly inspiring to me to go, actually, do you know what? If he can do it, then why can't I? Why can't I give this a go? Is this my goal? I've always lived by setting these little goals, so I've got something to go towards. And that was my new goal then. I was like, okay, I'm going to set this as a goal. And then signed up for London Olympia with a friend to do the doubles, see how we get on there. And April last year was my first one. And now I'm 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in so far, and sixth one in a few weeks up in Glasgow.
Nice.
And I can't get enough now. I love them. So I'm already looking for tickets for Rotterdam if anybody's about. Men's doubles for Rotterdam. I'm after some tickets.
Right. I should say, for people listening, if they're not aware, Tyler Saunders, like, I've interviewed him on here as well. He has one leg. He competes in HYROX. So that's who Tyler is. So what took you to that initial, when you were going to watch in Birmingham? What brought you there? Just a friend competing, was it?
No, so I was speaking to someone at the time, and getting to know somebody that was competing. So it was just, I was going up there to watch them compete, really, and see what it was. To be fair, I was up there because I live down south now. I was up there the day before because I'd had a charity boxing match where I'd put myself in the ring the night before. Where that'd give me, basically, I was having a drink 9 weeks prior to this, and a mate of mine was saying, does anybody fancy having a boxing match for charity, this kind of thing? And I thought, oh yeah, I'd had a drink at the time. I was like, I can do this, mate. And then suddenly I was training for 9 weeks to have the fight on that. I think it was the 14th of October, and then the Birmingham was on the 15th of October. So I was up there. I had my fight that night. I did win, thankfully, and I didn't come out too bashed up. And then spent the day up at Birmingham watching. and seeing what it was all about, but just fell in love with the atmosphere, fell in love with what was going on, and thought, right, this is something I can really throw myself into, and have done ever since, really.
Also, were you hesitant in any way because of your leg? But like, did you feel
Oh,
reasonably confident that you could do it without adaptations? Because you do HYROX without adaptations, right? I should say that.
yeah. Although I'm classed as an adaptive athlete, yeah, I am very much. If I can do it without adaptations, then I want to do it without adaptations. I want to compete, and for myself, and to get something out of it. For me, the satisfaction of doing relatively well in a sport that obviously doesn't. Everybody else has got two legs and two arms and so on, then obviously that's something that I buzz off that kind of thing. So I want to go against people who don't have disabilities, as well as competing in adaptive categories as well, if need be. But yeah, no, it was something that I looked at. But yeah, no, I had massive reservations, to be fair, and I was like, can I do this? Like, you know what I mean? And then I thought, right, if I sign up for doubles, at least if I can't, my partner will be able to do it, that kind of stuff. And then obviously we went to London Olympia and finished, I think, a relatively good time for doubles, considering it was both of our first one, and we hadn't got a clue what was ahead of us, really. And then yeah, I've done solos since, up until Vienna, where I did the doubles. So I might not venture down the doubles again just yet. I might stick to the solos.
Are there any stations that like are particularly difficult for you because of the leg or?
Not really, no. I haven't really found, like, I'm not particularly keen on the sleds, any of them really, but again, I can power through them, and I can get them done. They're just one of the lengthier ones for me, really. I did think personally that I'd hate lunges because of the leg and so on, but in Birmingham, just gone, when I did my first solo, I finished 24th, I think, out of, I think there was 1,500 men that day. And
Nice.
I ended up finishing 24th out of that. Like, so I was like, I can do lunges, and I just powered through the lunges. Yeah. So yeah, no, I love the lunges for some reason. And I don't mind the burpees either. So if there's a relay team going that wants someone to do lunges and burpees, I'll jump in. I might not be the fastest on the runs, but I'll make it up on the lunges.
Okay. All right. So what is it that you think like HYROX gives you? It's just something to be working towards? It's like a purpose. It's something to focus the mind. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Something that, for me, I've never been in a training like I am now, and I've got Jade Skillen sorting me out with my training program and so on. But I've never had any of it. I've never done anything like it, and the routine. I always say, like, if I was tested, I'd probably be diagnosed with ADHD. So the routine I kind of love, and knowing what I'm doing, and setting it up, and it gives me something to burn this energy that I want to run around with, So it's something that I've just found and absolutely, like, fell in love with. And genuinely, I think it was at a point in my life where it came into my life that it saved my life, really, amongst a few other things, like, and meeting Hannah, and getting with Hannah, and that kind of thing. But yeah, it saved my life. It gave me that purpose. It gave me that focus, and now I just want to do more and more and more, and improve and improve and improve, and bring that time down. And like I say, I'm going up to Glasgow in a few weeks' time, and I'll be taking on the pro weights for the first time. So after that, I might have a different view on it, Greg. But we shall see. But yeah, the pro weights are coming up, which I'm dreading a little bit. But for me, it's one of those where I don't believe there's another amputee done the pro weights in the world.
Okay.
So I want to put that out there, and I want to get other amputees involved that are doing it, that get them in. It seems like it's quite scarce. There are adaptive athletes out there, there's every time I go there's someone else turning up, and I think it's incredible, but I just don't think there's enough out there at the moment, and I don't think there's enough people that think that they potentially could. So trying to get other people involved by doing these kind of things to me, although it's quite selfishly for me and my own mental health and my own well-being and all that kind of stuff, it's also out there to try and encourage and inspire other adaptive athletes and other people in general to go, wow, if he can do it, then we can.
Yeah.
And yes, it is difficult, and yes, it is horrible at the time. But as soon as you finish that, as soon as you get over that finish line, I'm thinking about when my next one is and where can I book next. So yeah, I love it.
Do you see yourself as like an inspiration or a potential inspiration to others? Is that like partly what drives you at all?
I would say only probably in the last year. I've had a lot of people just reach out and go, "What you're doing is inspiring," and it feels weird, if I'm honest, that people are like, "Yeah, that's it," because I'm just doing me. I'm just that's what it is. But actually, if people are going to say that and people are going to be inspired by me, then if that's something I can continue to do for other people that may not reach out to me and tell me that, then that is incredible, and that's the kind of thing I want to be pushing. I want people to understand and realize that there is a way out of the holes that we can all get in, and like I always say, life is like that. Your fitness is like that, and so is your mental health. That they come intertwined a little bit, but we've got to accept it, and obviously try and do what we can to push through. And if I can give anybody that little bit of inspiration or that little bit of drive of, if he can do it, then I can. Then that's amazing. Yeah.
Do you still have like, is your mental health still up and down from time to time
No,
these days?
I'm in a great place right now. I'll be really honest. I'm in an incredible, probably the best place I've ever been. Right at this time. But I will have days where I will lie there and I'll just go, I don't want to. I'm upset. I'm emotional. I'll get tearful, and I'm like, I don't know why. And I've just learned now, for me, is when I have those moments. At one point, they were once a fortnight. Then it went out to like once a month for something. I would just have a period of time where I would just feel emotional. I'd feel down. I'd miss the people I've lost, and again, that's normal. So I just started embracing it and taking it in and allowing myself to get upset and allowing myself to cry, and talk to people about it, and telling people that I have slumped over 2 days, and I'm always quite weary, and I'll keep an eye on it, that if it pushes on past the 2 or 3 day point, then what is going on? Why am I feeling like this? And then try and do something, obviously, to sort that out. But I embrace it a lot now when it comes. But like I say, I haven't had that for a good month or two now. So yeah, no, I'm in a great place at the moment. But I'm not silly enough to think that it can't just, something like that can't just turn and put yourself back in that situation. So it's prepping that when we do, because we all will have moments that of that kind of, that we know what helps and we know what can support me, because that might be different to what can support you, but I just use the basics, really. I go back to the basics, which I always think about, and then go to them, and that always puts me in a bit of a better place.
Yeah. So the basics, like we talked a little bit about this as well when we met, but so you're going to be like running some camps, right, for guys. Is that right? And can you talk about that and a bit about what you aim to sort of teach on those camps?
Yeah. So my first retreat, I had this moment where I get, again, a lot of people come up and say, right, you're inspirational, you're this, like, how did you get out of this? And we'll have conversations, and people like the stuff that I do to try and take myself away from my own mind and so on. So because of that, I've like, okay, like, I want to do something for men. And the reason I say men in particular, and I know mental health goes across sexes, but for me, it's that 5 people in my life that I've lost to suicide are all men, and we all know the statistics are up for men and so on. So it's something that I just thought, right, I want to personally do something that I can help one person, then that's incredible. So I started up this. So basically, what had happened is that me and a friend of mine had gone off to Wales camping with our two girls and my boy last summer, to this most stunning campsite where the phones don't work. And I was at the bottom of Snowdon. The surroundings were incredible. There's a lake right next to us. There's water sports. You're getting up in the morning, I'm going straight in the lake, a bit of that cold water dip, and all of this kind of thing. And I came away from there just revamped, ready to push on and go again, and I always kind of hit these barriers where I get to a point where I'm just like, and that was a perfect little reset for me, and proves to me that if I go back to the things that I need to focus on, I will always take myself out, and I challenge anybody to do the things that I'll talk about in a second over a period of time, and if you don't feel better, then please like get in touch and let me know, because it's everybody I've spoke to and they've really stuck to it. They have genuinely felt better. And don't get me wrong, like, I am not a therapist, I'm not a counsellor, and people need these in their lives as well. But for me, it's about taking these men. So I've got 10 men that I know personally, in some capacity. Some I've known for years, and some I've known for the past few months, really, that have all struggled with their own mental health at one point, and they're on different journeys of their improvement of their mental health. And there's some others that are doing HYROX. There's some that climb mountains. There's some that still go to the pub every weekend, get absolutely drunk out of their heads, and then call me crying and saying they don't want to be here anymore. So there's a bit of a wide variety of where they are on the scale. But basically, what we are going to go and do is, over 3 days, we're going to go and camp. Phones are going to be handed in. Day one will be about setting up camp, having chats, that kind of thing, and then doing a physical activity, so a fitness session, whether that be a run or circuits or whatever it may be, on that day, and then do some icebreakers on the night time, that kind of stuff, and then talk about why we're there. So everybody's sharing their own story of why they're there, and then we're going to get a relatively early night if we can, because we're going to go out first thing on the second morning to go and climb Snowdon, where the 10 of us will go up there, climb Snowdon, get back down for the afternoon to then go and do some water sports, and again then coming back on the night time and talking about what our goals are that we want to set, how we could go about putting the plan in place, to sort the process out, really, to get towards that goal. And then the following day is about packing up camp, that kind of stuff, and then heading off to this cave-in. So in the Blaen y Ffestiniog, up in North Wales, there's this cave-in thing where I took the kids last summer to do trampolining, and I was petrified. So I was really out of my comfort zone, and I saw this other thing and I said, I couldn't do that. There's no way in this world I could do that. And because I'm putting these lads out of their comfort zone, and that's why we're calling it the discomfort zone, I promised myself I'd have to put myself out of my own comfort zone and go and do this 3-hour kind of cave-in, zip wiring, climbing thing around, which I am dreading, absolutely dreading. And then so that'll basically sort out the 3 days. But then I looked at it and I'm going, like, my old man said to me a while ago, he said, basically what you want to do, son, is what everybody says on these podcasts, and what you've got to do, and all this and all that. You've got to say this and you've got to do that. He said, you've got to make it accessible to people that are on the council estate you grew up on, and all that kind of stuff, whether that be money, whether that be understanding what people are actually saying on the podcasts, and so on. So that stuck in my head. So I was like, right, I don't want these lads to have to pay for it. They can pay for it. They I'm sure they'd be able to raise the money to be able to attend. But I was like, I don't want them to have to choose, because it's going to cost them 150 quid to turn up, and that's just going to pay for all the stuff that we're doing over the day, the camping and the caving and different bits and pieces that we're going to be doing. So like, I'm taking nothing out of it other than I'm going on my own little retreat as well at the same time. So yeah, we've raised money. So the first one's paid for. There's a bit of money left in the bank now for the second one, which I hope to roll out in the summer. But the plan is for these boys to hopefully. So I've got a lad in Watford, I've got a lad in Coventry, I've got a lad in Manchester, I've got a couple of lads in Wales. I've purposefully put them in and around the country as well a little bit. So what I'm hoping at the back end of it is some of these boys who are using fitness already for their own mental health to support them, is that they can then run out the retreats themselves. So actually we open it up on a bigger scale so we can then get to more people. But it's just all about, for me, and these are the ones that I constantly go back to, is just being able to connect with other people. Massive for me. Being physically active and going out there and pushing your body, pushing your limits really, and understanding that obviously your mind will go before your body goes, and the feeling that you get afterwards because of being physically active. And whichever that is, like, I'm not saying to people as well that you've got to go out and do a HYROX, you know, because that's not always going to be what, you know, and that's my thing. It doesn't mean it's going to be anybody else's thing, but it's about just getting out and being active and just getting something out of it, that feeling that you can obviously get out the back end of it. And then the other one's learning something new, which is why I'll put the water sports into it, and taking yourself out of that comfort zone a little bit. And that's why I put that bit in there as well. And on that water sports, there's this massive rock about 40 meters above the lake that we're going to try and make everybody go up there and jump off. But again, heights are not my thing, so I don't know whether I'm going to be able to get up there, especially as I'm going to be jumping off with one leg, because I'm going to have to leave my leg up on the rock because I can't go in water with my leg. But I won't use that as an excuse. I'm sure I'll get off it in the end. But yeah, no, getting them to actually get out the comfort zone and learn something new and take that on board. And then there's the support in other people, giving to other people. For me, other than physical activity, me giving to other people is the biggest thing that I could get for my own mental health. And I see it as me being a little bit selfish. Although I'd really, really genuinely want to help other people, I get so much out of it. I feel a little bit selfish about it, you know. So, but it's one that massively obviously helps me. And then the final one on there, really what I'm getting them to go to that place for, is just to be present in where you are. The place is absolutely stunning, and again, it's only in the past year and a half, 2 years really, that I've managed to go. I've been down, I've been low, I feel a bit rubbish, and I can go for a walk and just be quiet and listen to the world around us, smell the world around us, look at the world around us. And again, I get so much out of that now. And if somebody had said that to me when in my 20s, I'd be like, whatever, go and hug some trees or whatever it is. Maybe I'd have made a comment, you know. I don't really know. But genuinely, like, it's one of the biggest things that I've taken on, and that's something new I am learning in myself really now, is to be able to actually take in that environment and just go out and just literally take it in. And I did a video on my Instagram, to be fair, not so long back. I had a bit of grief where people are going, oh, he's always taking his top off, he thinks he's this, he thinks he's that, giving me a bit of grief. And I'm like, God, you know. So I felt like the necessity to get on there, and I was like, right, yes, I am running, yes, I do have my top off. But I explained, like, the reason I've genuinely never felt so alive than when I'm running at a pace where I'm struggling and that wind is on my body. I get such a buzz, this feeling inside that of being alive. That's why I do it, you know. And I know most people in HYROX have got the tops off in any case, but yeah, that again, that's why I do it. It's that feeling, that adrenaline I get from the wind on my body while I'm running. Just makes me feel alive, you know.
Yeah.
And the only other two things I would put in that category is a sleep routine and then food and drink. You know, you get those seven things on board. I genuinely, I can't see anybody that could come back to me and go, I don't feel better after doing all of those on a regular basis. You're not going to get all seven in on one day. But obviously, if you're getting them in 3-4 times a week, each one across however you're fitting them in, you know, you will feel better. I'm so confident in that. And that's basically what I do, and that's what this is all about, is taking these boys back to the basics and going, right, look at this, take this away with you, and then go and sort the other things of why you're in the hole that you're in on top of this. But actually in the meantime, because it costs nothing to get any of these, you know, and so the best thing I can offer is that kind of advice, and that's obviously what the retreats will be looking at.
Love it. The need for this as well, like it feels like the need for like activity and being outside and being present is like it's increased in this sort of day and age where like it's easy to be more sedentary and stuck indoors and on the social media and a million apps going at once, and like just to like disconnect and get away from all of that and like you said, like get back to basics. It feels like the need for that is greater than it's ever been, really.
Massively, massive, and a lot of people, when I say connect with others, a lot of people go, "I do connect with others," and I'm just like, put your phone down and connect with others,
Yeah.
or get on FaceTime or Zoom or whatever and have a proper conversation with somebody. Okay, let's use what we have got, you know, because we're not around. I'm not around my family all the time. I live down south. My family are up in Birmingham, you know, but I'm constantly on video chats with them, and so on. But yeah, no, like my boy's here now, and he's sitting out there, and to get him out of his bedroom and off his computer is a task, you know, and it's hard work. And there's a lot of people that are very, very similar. But he was saying to me on those 3-4 days that we had out there in the summer, he was jumping in the river. I didn't expect him to, because he is a bit of a lad that just sits and wants the game. And he said on the last night, we sat around a fire. He went, "Dad, this has been incredible. You know, it's taken me away from what I thought was the only thing I enjoyed. And I've literally loved every single second of this. Getting out here, getting in the cold water, being out in the wilderness, you know." And that was another thing that he pushed me then with that comment, if I can get him out of his bedroom and off his PlayStation. And he has that feeling. That's something that hopefully I can give to other people that are struggling to do it. And for me, it was always about cost. Like, yes, what I do now, it costs me a lot, but I'm saving more money now than I ever have, because I am not out drinking every weekend. I'm not doing this. I'm not having takeouts all the time, you know. So I'm spending more money than I have ever probably spent on myself directly to focus on me. Yeah, I'm saving more money, you know, and it's trying to get that around. And actually, you stop spending that £100 a night out drinking with your mates, and suddenly it becomes available. Don't get me wrong, I still like a night out, and I still like to go and have a little bit of a laugh and a drink here and there, but nothing like I used to, because then I want to be in the gym, I want to be training, I want to be improving, I want to improve myself on a daily basis, you know. So
Yeah. Love it. It's probably worth driving home, like for people that are struggling as well. Like you haven't got to go on a camp to get all these things, you know, physical activity, get outside, connections, food, sleep, all those things are obtainable to a certain extent in day-to-day life as well. So it's, yeah.
I sit, like I say, I sit at home and I'll have a rough day and I'll embrace a day. And then I might go the next day, I'm either hitting these 7 things all in one day to just get myself out there and go, like, pick myself back up. Or if I am really there, I might embrace it for another day, you know, and have those moments to feel down and grieve and so on. But I know I've got these to come back to me that pick me out of the hole every single time. And don't get me wrong, I haven't fell into the hole deep like I was before. But these things constantly, like if I could sit here now and go, right, that's got me down a little bit. Whatever's just happened has got me stressed. I'm going to hit 3 of these things now, which are going to pick me up. And then I'm going to have a good night's sleep, and I'm going to focus on my food. Then I'm going to be active, and suddenly I'm again then in this great mindset and feeling physically good and mentally good. You know, like I said, to me they are combined, and they will have the waves, both of them.
Yeah, from my perspective as well, like I think having that overarching, if you like, goal of like working towards something like HYROX gave to you, like that. I always think when people struggle with mental health or depression or anything like that, not always, I shouldn't say always, but like a lot of the time they would benefit a huge amount from having a goal that they were working towards, and it's often like when they haven't got that, when they're just lost, and there's not that sort of reason to get up in the morning and strive towards something. And for some people, like it may seem silly that HYROX is that thing for them, but there's always something that someone can find, I think, that they can do it.
Exactly that, like, and like I said earlier, like it's not for everybody. I genuinely believe if everybody gave it a go and give it a whirl and got in a bit of a pattern, they're going to feel better at the end of it, you know. But it's not for everyone, and that being active might mean just going for a walk, you know. And obviously, there's some people out there that can't, you know, and obviously for me, there's ways of, if you can't go for a walk, you can do something else. I'm certainly one of these people that is, I will find a way of doing something. And like with Hannah, bless her, injuring herself there, she can't walk, she's on crutches. I'm having to grab a wheelchair so we can go out for a walk tomorrow because she can't, even the crutches, she can't weight bear. But I'm going, okay, but we can do this, we can do that, we can do this, you know. And we're finding ways together to be able to just make sure that she's not slipping into that kind of, I can't do anything, because she was physically active every single day, and now she's not going to be for quite a while, you know. So it's finding what we can do that's going to be beneficial for her as well, you know, that can, it's that different route, isn't it? It's finding something else, because at the moment HYROX was her for the last few months, her focus and everything. It can't be the focus now, so we've got to find what the next focus is and set that goal. But for me, it's all about that process of going towards it and knowing that you are going to hit hurdles and you're going to fall flat on your face at stages. But then you work a way around that hurdle or over that hurdle or underneath that hurdle or whatever it is. You find a way then to get around it to eventually get towards what that goal is. And to me, that goal always moves, because as soon as I get anywhere near that goal, the next one's being set. And if it doesn't, I then worry that I'm going, right, I need something to focus on, to head towards, to make myself feel like I've achieved something, you know.
Yeah. The great thing about HYROX as a goal as well is it encourages you to follow those like other 7 factors. Like if your goal is to do as well as possible as HYROX, like you want to eat well, you want to eat better, and you want to sleep better, and you want to do the exercise, and you want to get outside, and all those things. It encourages you to follow those basics.
Yeah, and like where you go and giving to others and making new connections. Genuinely, like in Vienna, I had the time of my life, not because of the event itself, because obviously the event didn't go our way this time. But the people that were there that supported me and Hannah, I couldn't thank enough, you know. And we ended up spending the next 3 days with a couple that compete in HYROX as well, Becky and Mark, and they were just incredibly supportive to us both, you know. And I met them, started speaking to them on Instagram, you know, as you do, you speak to people on Instagram, and then suddenly you're at an event and you're like, is that them? I can't tell. And then bumped into them at Olympia. It was their first one. It was mine and my mate's first one. We had a little bit of a conversation, and we've had conversations on Instagram since, and we've met up a few times and at the events, but we've never really gone out and done stuff. But it was the community that is built by HYROX and the people you meet to me again is another one that's pumped that level of my 7 things up massively. And I've come back buzzing from Vienna, when in reality we could have really come back in a real negative mindset because of obviously what had happened. And they continue to contact Hannah, you know, and wishing her well and showing her, sending her videos of this could be something you could do, and so on. So that, yeah, the community continues, and it's just incredible.
Great.
I love it.
All right, brilliant. Well, this has been fantastic, amazing story. Love what you're doing. Before we finish up, anything else I should have asked you? Anything else you want to talk about?
No, I think that's it really. Just yeah, on to Glasgow now and the big boy weights. Oh, it's getting in my head a little bit. It is, Greg. It's getting in my head, but we'll be there. I'll be there. I'll be on that finish line at some point. Let's just see.
No doubt.
Yeah.
All right, perfect. Where should people go if they want to follow you, find out more about you?
So yeah, I'm on Instagram as HYROX_amputee. And like I say, if anybody is interested or has somebody that may want to jump on to one of these men's retreats, please just get in touch with me. Ideally, my next one will be 10 total strangers that are coming on that I'm going on to meet and gel through from there, potentially with a few people that might be able to support. And obviously, if there's anybody else that wants to donate their time to come down and share their experiences or their knowledge on certain subjects, you know, that could be supportive to the retreat, then that would be amazing as well. Obviously, yeah, just get me on Instagram, HYROX_amputee, and then yeah, we'll go from there. And if anybody wants to donate as well, please give me a shout on there as well, and I'll put the GoFundMe up. That's going from there. It will be a charity soon. I've just got to get that rolling and find the time to get that with everything else that's going on in my life at the moment. But that will be the charity. It will become a charity at one point, and then we'll go from there.
Okay. All right, great. Well, thank you for this. Thanks for sharing everything. Send my regards to Hannah. Good luck for Glasgow, and yeah, talk to you soon, mate. Thank you.
Cheers, Greg. Thank you very much, mate.